Hey, what's going on, everybody? Chris Meany here of FTN, checking in with a few NHL DFS Stat Hero plays for this evening. Game 1 between the Montreal Canadiens and the Tampa Bay Lightning happening here this evening, just a couple hours away from puck drop. If you're looking for more Stat Hero plays, FTNDaily.com has you covered. Free Stat Hero content every single day over there. NBA playoffs, a handful of games around the diamond, PGA here in a couple days. StatHero.com does offer it all, and they're also offering a 3-time deposit match bonus on your first DFS Sportsbook play up to $300. It really is you versus the house. FTN Nation versus Stat Hero. There's all kinds of picks flying around in our free Stat Hero Discord channel. We all have the same goal in mind, to take down Stat Hero, double up that cash. We have a how-to link inside the description of this video, how to play Stat Hero, the two games that they have to offer, survivor-based fantasy portion, as well as a DFS playbook portion where it's just your lineup against their lineup. So they have a couple lineups here at StatHero.com. As you see, two NHL lineups, one projected for 56.8 fantasy points, the other one projected for 57 fantasy points. They got Nikita Kucherov in there as their MVP in both, and I think that's a little risky, to be honest with you. He's not 100%. He only played 16 minutes in Game 7. He's clearly bothered by a rib injury, whether he says it or not. The Canadiens are the most physical team in the NHL, number 1 in hits in the regular season. I think they're going to make life pretty hard on Nikita Kucherov. And plus, Philip Deneau and his line, they were able to shut down all the top forwards that they played. I know Kucherov is leading the playoffs here in points, got more assists than anybody has points. He's been a force here, especially at home. But Mitch Marner, Auston Matthews, 1 goal in 7 games. Mark Stone, 0 points in 6 games. Max Pacioretty, 1 goal in 6 games. So I'm going to shy away. I'm going to give you a lineup where I copy them and have Nikita Kucherov as my MVP, and I don't have to worry if he goes off. But I'm going to have another one here without him that I think I like. The one I want to attack is that second one, 56.8 fantasy points. They got Kucherov as the MVP, Habs as their team goalie, Corey Perry in there, Jan Ruda for defense, Anthony Cirelli as a center, and Nick Suzuki as their flex. So they're rolling with 2 centers on both. Remember, you get a point here for a face-off win. And for Braden Point, he's not a big face-off guy. He is top 10 in face-offs. Yanni Gourde is 11th in face-offs. I'm going to take the number 1 guy in the NHL in face-offs. Nobody's taken more face-offs than him. Nobody's won more than Philip Deneau. He's in my flex. You got to remember, you get a point per face-off. He doesn't have to do anything on the score sheet. He could win anywhere here from 12 to 15, especially up against Braden Point, who I mentioned is not a great face-off guy. You see that I have Point as well. I had to have one superstar Lightning in my lineup, and he's just been amazing here throughout the playoffs. And he comes in absolutely red hot. He had goals in 9 straight games. He's got 14 and 20 points here in 18 games. 14 goals, pretty darn good. So I'm going to roll with Cole Caulfield as my MVP, who had 4 goals in the 3rd round. Nobody had more goals than him. Nobody had an expected and higher expected goals for percentage than Cole Caulfield. So he's in my flex. He remains 6K, and he continues to impress. I have the Canadiens as my team goalie. Along with them, I think Carey Price sees more rubber than Andrei Vasilevsky. I think the Canadiens actually win this game. I think they win Game 1. Islanders and Tampa had a hard-fought 7-game series. I think Montreal is coming in here feeling pretty good about themselves, and I think they steal one in Game 1. They've had very strong games on the road. They've been phenomenal here on the road in the playoffs, and they've started off really good in a lot of their games in the first period. So I think they push the pace here in the first. So I think the Canadiens get the W, but more importantly, I think Price gets a few more saves than Andrei Vasilevsky. At least more shot attempts anyways, we'll say that. Andre Palat and Braden Point in there. So I'm taking 2/3 of that top line, and that's where I'm being a little bit different than them. I'm not going with Kucherov. I think it's a little bit of a risky play, as I mentioned. If Kucherov hits the score sheet, most likely his 2 line mates hit the score sheet, and Palat and Point. So I'm going to have pieces of those 2 where they don't have them. And then Jan Ruda, I'm just piggybacking off of them and going with the defense play in there. So I'm projected for 56.1 fantasy points. Is slightly low. But like I've been saying here, this entire playoffs here when it comes to these Stat Hero videos and the Canadiens are on the schedule, 3 points projected for Cole Caulfield is just too low. This kid's shooting the puck with a ton of confidence. He was told that through the coaching staff and some of the players to shoot the puck because he got a heck of a release, and he's been shooting it. So that is one lineup that I feel pretty confident going head-to-head against Stat Hero. And then here's another one where I have Nikita Kucherov in there as well, projected for 57.8 fantasy points. I think this one is safer and it's up against the same lineup that they have, 56.8 fantasy points projected for them, as you see Kucherov, Canadians, Perry, Cirelli, Ruda, and Suzuki. So I'm copying them with Nikita Kucherov in case he does indeed go off, and if he leaves the game early, then that's fine. They have him in there as well. Canadians team goalie, there's no way I'm not rolling out Cole Caulfield in there as my flex. I think that's an upgrade over Corey Perry, although I do like him at 6K. Philip Deneau as a centerman, and Victor Hedman, I think, where I'm really getting difference. There's a massive gap here between Ruda and Victor Hedman, and there's no question I have a gap here between Perry and Cole Caulfield. They have Suzuki in there at as their flex. And I got Yanni Gourde, who's 11th in faceoff wins, who can get about double-digit faceoff wins. Suzuki gets in around that as well. And I think the difference in this series will actually be line 3 with Yanni Gourde, Blake Coleman, and Barclay Goodrow. I think that was the difference for Tampa Bay in the third round against the Islanders. I think that was the difference for Tampa in most of their rounds last year on their way to their second ever Stanley Cup. And I think it's a mismatch with the Canadians' third line with Jesperi Kotkaniemi and Paul Byron and Josh Anderson up against this Yanni Gourde line. So I feel pretty good about Yanni Gourde in there at 6'4". And then again, Philip Deneau, I think it's an automatic 10 to 12 fantasy points right there for what he's going to be able to do on face-off wins alone. So I have this lineup projected for a little bit more if Nikita Kucherov is actually healthy and he gets his regular 2 points at home. And we get Philip Deneau and Yanni Gourde chipping in with 20 points combined. I think that's a pretty significant gap. And then what Victor Hedman's going to do, because nobody is going to log more minutes than Victor Hedman here for the Bolts. And I think overall in this series, I think that will be the case. All right, check out StatHero.com. Any questions, don't be afraid to hit me up. Again, free content over at FTNDaily.com. Every single day, free Stat Hero content. And make sure you click the chat link up at the top of FTNDaily.com to get into our free Stat Hero Discord channel, where, like I said, there's even more picks flying around left, right, and center, with one goal in mind: to take down Stat Hero and take all their cash. Again, it is your lineup against their lineup. You don't have to worry about ownership, any kind of nonsense like that. You pick and choose what lineup you want to go up against and what lineup you want to roster to beat them. Good luck tonight. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.